Welcome to the Eduleadership Show. I'm your host, Justin Bader, and in this episode, we'll talk about face-to-face versus written feedback. We'll talk about why students should read whole books in school, but often don't. And we'll talk about an innovative vet tech program that's allowing high school students to work with and care for shelter animals. Let's get to it. First up, over in Edutopia, Kim Marshall, the author of Rethinking Teacher Supervision and Evaluation, and someone I've looked up to for many years and really aspired to be like in my career as an instructional leadership author. Kim has a new article entitled The Case for Face-to-Face Debriefs After Observations. Let's talk about it. Should administrators give written feedback after an observation? Kim Marshall has a new article in Edutopia in which he argues that the feedback that teachers receive after being observed should be face-to-face. It should be a personal face-to-face conversation, not written feedback. So check out this article. I think I mostly agree with Kim here. And Kim Marshall is the author of Rethinking Teacher Supervision and Evaluation, and really one of the people I look up to the most in this profession when it comes to instructional leadership. He makes a really good case that people don't really change their practice as a result of written feedback. And written feedback can go wrong in a lot of different ways. And I would love to know what your experience has been with that. So have you ever received written feedback that was really good, that was really helpful? Leave a comment and let me know. My experience has been that for the most part, people change their practice by talking about their practice. It's not what we put in writing that makes a big difference. People still like positive notes. If you leave a nice note for someone, they will treasure it, they will save it, and that can be a great thing. But it's not the written suggestions that make a difference. And in fact, written suggestions can really send us in the wrong direction. One, because we don't always know what to suggest until we've talked with the teacher. Better feedback comes from a conversation than just if we observe and have to write something down without talking with the teacher. So I think Kim is mostly right on track here. Where I would differ a little bit is I think it can be valuable to take notes while you're observing. And Kim says some very interesting things about observation notes, that they're not always as objective as they seem. Like sometimes there is a criticism in them. He says, when a supervisor sends low inference notes, an expectation in many schools, a comment that is supposed to be objective, like Danny had his head on the desk, can be heard as criticism. And I refer to notes like that, factual statements that have a little bit of an implication behind them, as barbed facts, right? There's a little bit of a jab there. Well, why did Danny have his head on the desk? Oh, only 17 students out of 28 were paying attention. Well, there's some criticism implied there. And I think there's not a lot of point in doing that and trying to frame it as objective documentation. I think if we're going to take objective notes, low inference notes, we should not try to embed any kind of criticism in them. I think there are things that are relevant to document, but we should know what we're doing if we say something that we intend to be negative. So check this article out in Edutopia by Kim Marshall. Great discussion of feedback conversations and avoiding written feedback. Let me know what you think. Next up, also in Edutopia, Doug Limov and his co-authors of the Teach Like a Champion Guide to the Science of Reading have an opinion piece that's excerpted from the book about why students should read whole books. Let's take a look. Kids should read whole books in school, right? It sounds like a totally logical, totally normal idea, but not having kids read books in school is normal enough that Doug Limov and his colleagues had to write an article in Edutopia, why students should read whole books. And in this article, they make the case for reading whole books as a class, not just in independent reading, but as a class for students to work through. And they point out how odd it is that we even need to make a case for this. But the reason that a case needs to be made is because it is normal practice in a lot of schools to not teach with whole books, to teach short passages, excerpts, the kinds of things that might be on tests, and especially the kinds of passages that are intended to develop individual skills, like isolated skills, like finding the main idea. But that thinking that reading is some sort of collection of skills that you can practice independent of content is a flawed idea. And they explain that knowledge is the underlying factor in reading comprehension, finding the main idea, all of these things that are supposedly skills are really functions of knowledge. And I have to give credit to my colleague, Natalie Wexler, who wrote a great book called The Knowledge Gap a couple years ago and has a more recent book called Beyond the Science of Reading, where she really explains the science behind this idea that students need knowledge in order to comprehend. And we can't just teach these abstract skills like finding the main idea, because you can't find the main idea of something you don't understand. You need knowledge to understand. So check out Beyond the Science of Reading by Natalie Wexler. She's been on my podcast, Principal Center Radio. And also check out this article in Edutopia by Doug Lemov, Colleen Driggs, and Erica Woolway, the authors of the Teach Like a Champion Guide to the Science of Reading. And let me know, in your school, do kids read full books, not as independent reading, but actually as part of the curriculum that they do as a whole class? Leave a comment and let me know. Lastly, I have an innovative Animals on Campus story for you. Students at a San Bernardino County high school now have the opportunity to work with shelter animals, dogs and cats that are in the animal shelter, as part of their vet tech program. Let's take a look.
San Bernardino County Animal Care is excited to announce its partnership with Colton Redlands Yucaipa Regional Occupational Program and their Veterinary Assistant Program at Bloomington High School. This collaboration provides valuable hands-on experience for students aspiring to enter the veterinary field, while also offering essential care to shelter pets in need. Pets in the program also receive grooming, bathing, and nail trimming, helping them look and feel their best for adoption. To learn more about the program, visit animalcare.sbcounty.gov.
That's it for this episode of the Eduleadership Show. I'm Justin Bader, and I'll see you next time.